Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Sian, and if you haven't visited this channel before, I love making videos about creepy things, cults, true crime, anything disturbing or morbid really. So if you're into that kind of thing, then you are definitely in the right place. Today we're going to be doing part one of an I don't know how many part series where we're going to do a deep dive into the missing 411. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry, I will definitely explain it to you. But this topic is just really strange and really perplexing and kind of creepy. So I've always wanted to do a YouTube video on it because all the videos that I watch on it are always so interesting. So without further ado, let's get into it. So picture this, a very seasoned and well-trained hiker sets out on a trail in the heart of a national park in America. And then they vanish. No clues, no trace, no evidence, they are just completely gone. So how does this happen? And that is what the missing 411 is all about. There is a series of so many people who have gone missing in national parks in America without any evidence, any clues, and any end to the investigation. Most of them just go completely unsolved. So we're going to take a deep dive into this mystery and we're going to explore some of the cases involved, as well as some theories surrounding the people that have gone missing. So the term missing 411 was coined by David Paulides, who was a former police officer turned investigator. David was one of the few individuals who uncovered a very unsettling pattern of disappearances in wilderness areas in America. These aren't ordinary missing persons cases. Most of them defy logic and leave even the most seasoned experts completely flawed. Victims often vanish under circumstances that seem pretty impossible, often just in broad daylight and without leaving any trace or clues. And on top of all of this, most of these cases don't even leave evidence of struggle or foul play. So what is making these people vanish? So we're going to take a deep dive into a few missing 411 cases, and we're going to look through the theories from scientific to supernatural. Could it be predators, strange weather phenomena, or something far more supernatural? And the deeper you dig into these cases, the stranger it gets. And fair warning, after I started reading into these cases, there is not one chance I am going hiking in any of these mountains or any of these national parks by myself, or without at least 5 people keeping a very close eye on me. So yeah, just be aware that it probably might creep you out a little. So what is missing 411? So the term missing 411 was first introduced by David Paulides. Like I said earlier, David is a former police officer who began investigating unusual missing persons cases in national parks and wilderness areas. His Missing 411 project includes a series of self-published books and 2 documentary films that detail unsolved cases of people who have disappeared in national parks and other locations. So David began investigating this topic after an off-duty park ranger approached him during his research in a national park. The ranger, who was familiar with David's background, expressed concerns about some of the unexplained missing cases in the park that he was working at. Encouraged to look into the matter further, David discovered what he believes was multiple examples of negligence by the Park Service in handling these cases. Expanding his research worldwide, David claimed to uncover a series of disappearances that defy logical and conventional explanation. David's books and documentaries detail clusters of these disappearances, identifying certain hotspots in the United States, such as Yosemite National Park or the Great Smoky Mountains. The patterns he uncovers include people vanishing near bodies of water, sudden changes in weather during the search, and survivors who have absolutely no memory of the ordeal or the vanishing. While skeptics argue that obviously these cases can sometimes be explained by accidents, animal attacks, or just environmental factors where people genuinely just get lost, David suggests that something a bit more unusual may be at play. Whether it's due to cryptids, portals, or other supernatural phenomena, the missing 411 has captured the public imagination and sparked a lot of debate. By August of 2021, David had published at least 10 books on this topic. In one of these books, called A Sobering Coincidence, David states that he had not yet identified a cause for the disappearances, but suggested that the list of possibilities is definitely narrowing. He encourages readers to think beyond conventional ideas to uncover the truth. One of David's key revelations while he was doing his research was that the US National Park Service does not maintain a centralized list of missing persons in its parks. While there is a database for incidents and criminal reports, it is inconsistent and it's not linked with any of the other systems. This lack of record keeping prompted a petition for accountability. So the popularity of the missing 411 books led to the creation of a documentary film released in 2017. David's maps and theories have since gained traction on social media platforms, including TikTok, where they have gone viral a couple times. Critics have still continued to question the validity of David's claims. Kyle Polich, a data scientist and host of the Data Skeptic podcast, analyzed David's work and suggested that the cases do not represent anything unusual at all. Polich suggested that the disappearances are likely caused by natural and explainable factors, such as falls, health issues, drownings, animal attacks, exposure to the elements, or intentional disappearances where people do not want to be found. He presented his findings at a 2017 Skepticamp event, concluding that the cases do fit within expected patterns and frequencies of such incidents. An article in Skeptical Inquirer further discussed Polich's analysis, pointing out that David often highlights odd correlations, such as 2 missing women with 3-letter names starting with the letter A. Polich ultimately concluded that none of the cases stood out as particularly unusual, and the data did not support the idea of a mysterious phenomenon. Nonetheless, David has continued to investigate these cases and found that the missing 411 cases typically involve individuals who vanish under highly unusual circumstances. And these disappearances often happen in locations known for their natural beauty and remoteness. What makes these cases so compelling is how similar all of them are. Apart from women having 3-letter names that start with the letter A, victims often disappear in areas that are highly traveled with a lot of foot traffic, and these cases often have no witnesses or no evidence left behind. Search and rescue teams often find no trace of the missing, even in places that have been thoroughly searched. Understanding what the missing 411 is requires diving deeper into these patterns and looking at very specific cases. So now we're just going to go through some of the patterns and the key elements in the missing 411. I briefly introduced them now, but now we're just going to dive a bit deeper into them. So these patterns that I'm speaking about have been meticulously documented by David Polich and include several commonalities that seem to defy coincidence. First, many disappearances occur in clusters across very specific geographical locations. These clusters are often in national parks, like I mentioned earlier, like Yosemite or the Great Smoky Mountains. The locations themselves often have historical ties to mysterious or paranormal activity, adding to their very eerie reputation. Another common element is the proximity of water to where people disappear. Lakes, rivers, and even small bodies of water are often near the locations where people vanish. This consistent association with bodies of water remains one of the most perplexing aspects of these cases. The behavior of tracking dogs also adds to the mystery. In numerous instances, dogs that are trained to follow scents are unable to pick up any trail whatsoever. They either lose the scent abruptly or just refuse to track altogether, which is very unusual for animals who are known for their reliability in search and rescue missions. Strange weather phenomena are another recurring factor in these cases. Sudden storms or unusual weather events often coincide with the disappearances, complicating search and rescue efforts and often erasing potential evidence. Personal belongings of the missing individuals are sometimes found in very baffling conditions. Items like shoes, clothing, or backpacks are discovered either neatly arranged or in areas that were already searched by the investigators. These discoveries often raise more questions than answers. And finally, there is the very unsettling detail of survivors or recovered individuals having no memory of what happened during their disappearances. This amnesia only deepens the mystery and leaves investigators with very little to work with. So it's these patterns and key elements and things that happen again and again that forms the foundation of the missing 411 mystery. Why are all of these cases sharing these very unique similarities, and could there be something more sinister going on? So we're first going to be looking at the case of Dennis Martin. You may have heard of this case before because it is quite famous. So Dennis Martin's disappearance is one of the most baffling and well documented of the missing 411 cases. It occurred on Father's Day weekend on June 14th in 1969 in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Dennis, a 6-year-old boy, was on a family camping trip in the Cades Cove area. He was last seen playing a game of hide and seek with his brother and 2 other children. The group was at a very popular area called Spence Field, which was a well-known meadow near the Appalachian Trail. And one of the stranger parts of the case was that Dennis's family and the family whose children he was playing with had the same surname, but that was probably just a coincidence. So what happened was Dennis ran off to hide behind some bushes, and he was planning on jumping out and scaring the adults. However, when the other children had finished their job of scaring the adults, they all regrouped and realized that Dennis was not with them. His father, William Martin, obviously immediately began searching around the area for Dennis, looking behind bushes, looking in cars, looking under cars, and everyone was calling out for Dennis, but there was no response. Within minutes, the family knew that something was terribly wrong. Where could Dennis have gone? The search effort for Dennis Martin was one of the largest in US history. Park rangers, volunteers, the National Guards, and Green Berets were all involved in the search. The search included over 1,400 people scouring the dense forest and rough terrain. Helicopters, bloodhounds, and tracking teams were all brought in, but no trace of Dennis was ever found. Adding to the mystery, and like I spoke about the patterns before, heavy rains started pouring down shortly after Dennis's disappearance, washing away any potential evidence. Footprints were, however, found near the area where Dennis Martin disappeared, but park officials just shrugged it off, believing they belonged to a Boy Scout who was helping with the search. The child-sized prints led to a stream and then just disappeared. The tracks showed that one of the feet were barefoot and the other foot was wearing an Oxford shoe, similar to what Dennis was actually wearing at the time that he disappeared. Retired park ranger and author Dwight McCarter believes the footprints were likely Dennis's, as they were not part of a group and none of the Boy Scouts were searching barefoot. By June 22nd, searchers had covered 56 square miles of ground. Over 1,000 people continued searching until June 26th, when the efforts were scaled back after no additional evidence or clues were found. The search officially ended on June 29th after a final attempt and was officially closed on September 14th of 1969. As of 2022, it remains the largest search in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. No remains, clothing, or belongings of Dennis were ever discovered. Theories about Dennis's disappearance range from animal attacks to abductions, but none have been proven. There are 3 main theories about Dennis Martin's disappearance. The first theory is that he became lost and died from exposure to the elements or just natural causes, likely on the first night after he disappeared. Park officials consider this the most likely explanation. The second theory suggests that Dennis was attacked and carried away by a bear or a feral pig, although this is probably less likely as there weren't really any animals in the area when they did their search. The third theory is that Dennis was abducted by someone or something and taken out of the park immediately. Dennis's father, William, strongly believed this theory. On the afternoon that Dennis disappeared, a tourist named Harold Key and his family reported hearing an enormous, sickening scream, and shortly after they saw a rough-looking, shaggy man running up a trail near where they heard the scream. Key said that the man appeared to be carrying cloth or clothing over his shoulder, and this sighting occurred about an hour after Dennis went missing and roughly 5 miles from where he was last seen. However, park rangers and the FBI concluded that there just wasn't enough evidence to link the Dennis disappearance with this sighting. They also noted that it would have been really difficult for this shaggy man to cover the 5-mile distance or closer to 7 to 9 mile distance in such a short amount of time with a boy over his shoulder. This abduction theory was actually recently featured on the Hulu series Out There, Crimes of the Paranormal, in an episode titled Smoky Mountain Nightmare, which aired on September 24th of 2024. Go check it out if you get the chance. The lack of any remains or belongings of Dennis has fueled theories about possible portals or alternate dimensions, an idea very popular in paranormal circles. While such theories may seem pretty far-fetched, it does underscore how deeply mysterious and perplexing this case is that people are jumping to those kinds of conclusions. To this day, Dennis Martin's disappearance remains completely unsolved. His case is a haunting reminder of how quick and inexplicably someone can go missing in the wilderness. Next, we're going to explore the case of Dior Kunz Jr. Dior's disappearance is one of the most controversial and mystifying 411 cases. This case involves a 2-year-old boy who vanishes on July 10th of 2015 while on a family camping trip in Leodore, Idaho. Dior was with his parents, Jessica Mitchell and Vernal Dior Kunz Sr., his great-grandfather Robert Walton, and a family friend named Isaac Reinwood. And they were all camping at Timber Creek Campground, quite a popular campground. The area was remote but not particularly dangerous, so it makes his disappearance very strange. The timeline of events is both very strange and perplexing. According to the parents, Dior was last seen at the campsite playing by himself while the adults were nearby. Vernal and Jessica claimed that they left Dior in the care of his great-grandfather just for a short time while they explored the nearby creek. When they returned from the creek, their little boy was gone. Panic obviously set in immediately, and the whole family began a frantic search for Dior. Law enforcement and search and rescue teams were called in quite quickly, launching a very extensive search of the campground and surrounding wilderness. The effort involved search dogs, helicopters, divers, and hundreds of volunteers. Despite their best efforts, no trace of Dior was ever found. Not a piece of clothing, not a shoe, and not even footprints. The dogs reportedly picked up a scent near the creek, but not surprisingly, they lost it abruptly, adding to the mystery. Theories about Dior's disappearance vary widely. Initially, it was believed that he may have just wandered off and succumbed to the elements, or just been taken by wild animals such as a bear or mountain lion. However, investigators found no evidence of animal activity or tracks that would support this theory. Another possibility is that Dior may have been abducted either by someone at the campsite or an unknown individual who happened to be in the area. Yet, the remote location and lack of witnesses make this scenario quite unlikely. Suspicion eventually turned towards the family members themselves. Investigators found inconsistencies of the parents' accounts of what happened that day. Polygraph tests reportedly yielded inconclusive or conflicting results, and some suspected that foul play could be involved. Both parents have obviously consistently denied any involvement in Dior's disappearance and maintain that they have no idea what happened to their son. He just vanished. Adding to the intrigue, the family friend Isaac Reinwood and the great-grandfather Robert Walton provided very limited or unclear information about the events leading up to Dior's disappearance. Some theories suggest that an accident may have occurred, with the adults trying to cover it up out of fear or guilt. However, again, no evidence has come up to substantiate this claim. The case took another strange turn when private investigators became involved. They too were unable to locate any new evidence and actually expressed doubts about the parents' accounts. Despite the intense scrutiny and ongoing efforts to solve the mystery, Dior's disappearance remains completely unsolved. As with many missing 411 cases, the lack of physical evidence is one of the weirdest aspects. How could a 2-year-old just simply vanish without a trace in the area that was so thoroughly searched? This case has left law enforcement, investigators, and the public divided, with theories ranging from tragic accidents to sinister foul play to inexplicable phenomena. So the question still remains, how can this little boy just disappear so suddenly without any trace? And the same can be said about the Dennis Martin case. Both small little boys playing innocently on a campground, both just vanished into thin air. And these are the kinds of things we can be expecting from the missing 411. The stories of Dennis and Dior reveal just how mysterious and unsettling the missing 411 cases have been. Both cases share pretty similar elements: sudden disappearances, lack of evidence, unanswered questions, dogs picking up a scent and then just leaving it very abruptly. These stories just challenge our understanding of what exactly goes on when someone goes missing in the wild. And as we dive deeper and deeper into the missing 411 in these series, you'll see that these patterns just completely defy explanation. Like I said earlier, there's lots of people that believe that these disappearances can be explained by natural factors, which I completely agree with. People go missing all the time because of natural causes. But with the missing 411, it is the sheer number of similarities across different cases that suggests there definitely might be more to these disappearances than meets the eye. So we're just going to keep exploring unsolved missing 411 cases, and if you are keen to go check out David's books and documentary, please feel free to do so. It is incredibly interesting and very, very perplexing. If there are any specific missing 411 cases you would like me to cover, please leave some comments down below. and I will make sure to include them in the series. I hope that everyone is enjoying the festive season so far. This will probably be my last video of the year as I'm going on holiday next week and probably will not film. I'll see how it goes. So if I don't see you, I hope that you have an amazing festive season filled with family, laughter, and lots of fun, and enjoy your New Year's if you have any plans. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye!